Property investment is a roller coaster ride. If you have not bought a single property, then you are already feeling pressure. It's not only about financially, about emotionally, and you feel like there are so many things that you have to do. So in this video, I am going to share with you that what are the top 8 things that you can do before even you purchase your first investment property, before you sign the contract. And if you do all these 8 things before, then your journey would be much more smoother, and in fact you will be less stressed between signing the contract to the settlement process, and even beyond. If you buy the second and third and fourth properties, it will actually help you. So let us understand what are these top 8 things that you can do or you should do before you sign the contract. Let's dive into it. Before you sign the contract, the first thing that you must do is to get an insurance quote. In Australia, there are multiple areas where the insurance is way higher as compared to the other areas. So having an insurance quote, knowing how much would be the property insurance, plus it will give you a relationship. I particularly like to go to an insurance broker and talking to my circumstances, that what particular area that I'm looking, and if I end up buying that property in that area and assuming that purchase price that I'm looking, let's say 400,000 or 500,000, what will be my insurance premium? And having an estimate plus the relationship with the insurance broker is a must beforehand, because once you sign the contract, then you can just quickly flick through all the details and then they will give you the premium details and your insurance is ready. Way too often I have seen people sign the contract, they don't even know how much will be the insurance cost. They assume that it will be $1,000 per year, but ended up becoming $3,000, and that $2,000 would be an extra ongoing cost. So knowing the insurance premium beforehand is an important part, and it will also reduce your stress of doing one extra things after signing the contract. Rather, you should be doing all these things before. So the first point, as I mentioned, is the insurance. The second thing that you can do is to find a solicitor and conveyancer. If you already bought a property, probably you already have a previous solicitor and conveyancer details, but if you have not bought, then you don't know about anyone. This is why you find out, talk before you purchase, talk to people you know, go to the network, different network event, and find out where the other investor are doing, and knowing in particular area that you are looking, who is the best conveyancers and solicitors. I particularly like somebody who can also read through my contract and give me some sort of a indication if there is an issue with that contract. So the fine print, all the special condition that has been written. So having a solicitor and conveyancer beforehand is an important part. Then when you are signing the contract, you know that your solicitor details are ready, and you can even put these details in the contract, and it will reduce the pressure. You can do this after, but doing this before is actually going to help you to have this process smooth and purchasing is smoother. It can also help you that if you have that contact with the solicitor, then you can give them the contract straight away and they can pick up things beforehand, so that you don't have to keep this till the last moment. It's also important, if you are buying for the first time, to shop around, having 2, 3, 4 different conveyancer quote or solicitor and conveyancer quote, and if you find out who is the best according to you based on the price and the service they provided, and accordingly you can go. Whereas if you go in the last moment, once you have already signed the contract, you will be panicking and you will go with anyone, and they might be very exorbitant or they might be expensive, and you will end up going there. So doing these things beforehand is actually going to help you, and actually going to save a lot of money as well. The third thing that you must do is to find a builder. In the area that you are looking, that you will be buying, you must find a local builder who has a wealth of experience in that area, who would be able to do the building and potentially pest inspection as well if they have the same team, and will give you the guidance whether the property. Too often I have seen people have signed the contract and then they are looking for who will be doing the building and pest inspection. In my opinion, it is too late. Whereas if you do this beforehand, have a relationship with the builder and tell them what you are looking for, what kind of property you are looking for, and then those builders, they knows the area very well. You might have to pay a little bit extra, but hey, you are actually investing hundreds of thousands of dollars. So adding or paying $200, $300 or $500 extra is almost negligible compared to the amount of money that you are spending to purchase a property. So I would always look for finding a builder beforehand and who has that experience in that area, and as soon as I am almost signing the contract, I'll flick them the address and they can probably do the drive pass through that area as well and give you upfront information about that area. And also when they will do the detailed inspection, because you have the prior relationship, it will help you to understand them better and what's the problem in that house, if at all. This also helps you to negotiate better, because you can beforehand you can talk to 2, 3, 4 different builders and get a better quote. Again, you can go with the network and find out who is one of the best builders in that area. So having a local builder is also an important part before you sign the contract. The fourth thing that you must do is to find a good property manager. If you're buying an investment property, then I always recommend that you must have a property manager to manage the property. You shouldn't manage by yourself. You would rather pay 5, 6 or 8% of the rent to a property manager who are experienced, skilled enough to do this management rather than you doing it. And having a property manager beforehand, you can negotiate the rate with them before, and you also know their service. So as soon as the property comes to once you sign the contract, you give them the details, and they might also help you do some sort of a property inspection and give you some upfront information about that area as well. So having a property manager, an experienced property manager beforehand is actually going to help you, so you will not be pressurized or stressed at the end when you're purchasing the property. I have seen people who have signed the contract and after settlement, property got settled, they don't know who will be the property manager. It's too late for me, because at that time, if you don't know, then you will probably ask the person who sold that property, and you don't know whether the property manager is good or not. They might be a good seller but not the property manager, and you will end up having a not so good property manager. So I would do all this exercise beforehand and making sure my property manager is ready before even sign the contract. The next one is council rates and taxes. In Australia, every council has their own council rates and taxes, and it is important to know how much is the council rate of that area you are looking. And why it is important, because you must be thinking that the council rate would be an average, let's say $2,000 or $1,500. However, once you go to that particular council and check, and you find out that their council rate is actually exactly double. Why it is important? Because you know that going forward how much you are going to pay, and you are based on that, your calculation of net return is going to be more or less depends on this council rate. So it's important to know, and knowing this information beforehand will help you to take the decision whether you're going to sign the contract or not. Too often I have seen people who are signing the contract and property settled, they don't even know where the property, what council it is and how much is the council rates until the first bill comes in or the first rate notice comes in. So that is too late for me. I would rather go and know these numbers upfront and beforehand sign the contract, knowing that this would be the cost going forward. Number 6 is stamp duty and government fees. In Australia, different state has different stamp duty calculations, and you need to know how much stamp duty you will be paying and other government fees that you will be paying. I know people, when they purchase a property and they're assuming the purchase price is 400,000, they calculate that's their total cost of purchasing the property. But that's not the case, right? One of the important point or one of the major cost is the stamp duty. And if you're buying an investment property, then this stamp duty depends on the count, depends on the state. It could be 3%, 4%. So if a 400,000 is the property purchase price, then the cost, it can go up to 20,000. So 420 would be your total cost of that. And knowing this number, it is going to help you to do these calculations better, and knowing how much would be your return, how much would be your rate, and the area that you are, and when you are actually purchasing that property, then you know upfront how much you have to pay from your pocket. So before you sign this contract, you must have this information so you can take this decision. Plus, when you sign this contract, you are much more stress-free because you already know all these things. Number 7 is have an accountant. If you are purchasing for the first time and if you are an employee, and you are doing your tax return probably by yourself, then chances are that you don't have your accountant. And if you don't have an accountant, it is important to have an accountant before you purchase your first investment property, just to understand what structure that you will be buying that property, and also knowing what would be your tax implication. So all these things you must know, and you must take an accountant, whoever you believe would be a good accountant. Shop around, find out what will be their fees, and knowing all these things is important before you purchase, because that cost, all this cost will add up to your investment journey. So have an accountant, know what structure you are going to buy, and making sure that your tax obligation is an important part, and you must know all these things before you sign the contract. And the last but not the least is the finance approval, which is we also call pre-approval. This one is easy because most of us almost know that before you sign the contract, I do not have the whole 100% of the purchase price, generally speaking. So I must take about 80% of that loan from a bank, and hence that pre-approval, knowing that how much I'll be able to borrow, is an important part, and most of us go. But I have seen people who actually sign the contract, till that they don't know whether they'll be eligible for the finance or not. So knowing or having that finance pre-approval, talking to a mortgage broker, getting to know that how much you would be eligible based on your circumstances is an important part, and giving you a less stressful, and it also gives you a kind of a history, because once the pre-approval is done, then getting the formal approval is much quicker, rather than once you sign the contract then you start the process. It might actually take longer time. Remember, when you're signing the contract, then you're putting a building and pest inspection subject to condition, or even subject to finance condition as well. So, and that generally about 21 days to a month, and if the finance is not approved, so either via conveyancer you have to extend it, or otherwise you have to rescind the contract. So having the finance approval before signing the contract is actually giving you less stress during the purchasing process, and it will also make your journey smoother. So these are the 8 things that I believe that anyone before they purchase the property must be following, must be doing this. And if you do this, then your journey would be much more smoother, much more easier, and you would be able to purchase not only financially stress free, but it's also about emotionally you would be much more relieved. Put a comments below how many of these is actually you did when you bought your first property, or if you haven't bought, you are actually planning to buy, then how many of these already you have done. If you like this video, then subscribe my channel, turn the notification bell on, and more importantly, share this video with your friends so that they can also get benefit from this video. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.